Hey, what's up, guys? Blaine Duncan here from Halloween Lives, the podcast of Michael Myers. Welcome to episode number 35. I'm joined, as always, my brother, Austin. What's up, dude? You were off last week. You missed out on Sean Clark, but you're back for number 35.
That's what I was going to say. As always, I missed out on one of our biggest episodes ever, but we're back with a banger today, and I'm very excited to be back here at the Silver Shamrock factory.
The Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, or Where in the World is Austin, is this week. He's at the Silver Shamrock factory. It doesn't unfortunately look like that anymore. That's kind of I think we've talked about it on the show that they had the big earthquake that came through and part of the building collapsed, and it may be torn down by now. I have no idea. I think we've said if anybody goes up there, please grab me a brick. I just want one brick. I'll pay the $78 in shipping and handling to get it to myself. But it doesn't unfortunately look like that anymore. So yeah, like Austin said, we have got an awesome episode. I'm really looking forward to this one. This has been a guest we've been working on for a while, and we're going to bring her on in just a moment. But I do want to mention once again that we have this awesome deal going on with Spookhouse Studios. Check out spookhousestudios.com. They've got all kinds of horror posters, including a couple Halloween posters. Right now, they're doing 10% off if you use the code Halloween Lives when you're at checking out. So use that, support the podcast, support us, support them. You're just really doing great things for the world. So make sure you guys check them out, spookhousestudios.com. They've been our sponsor since the beginning. And use that code. Support the podcast if you like what you see and what we're doing. So yeah, man, we're gonna get right into it. I have her bio right now, and I'm gonna read that real quick. So we're gonna be bringing on Marie, and Marie is a horror movie junkie who has been obsessed with Halloween and Michael Myers and the franchise since she was a child. You can catch her on the Not a Strong Start podcast on YouTube and anywhere you listen to your podcast. She also has her own show on Not a Strong Start called Marie Plays It All, where she talks about movies, video games, and all things geeky. Let's get Marie on the show. Marie, welcome to the program. Round of applause, everything. Woo! How you doing? Thanks for coming on the program.
I'm doing awesome. I'm so excited. Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored.
Definitely. No, this is, I'm really excited. So we'll kind of talk a little bit about what we're going to do here tonight. But what we want, so you kind of like, you review everything, right? I mean, I've seen you review, like, is it Coke Zero? I've seen you review like all kinds of crazy stuff, and it's awesome. I love it. And I was like, well, you know what we need? We need a Marie reviews the Halloween franchise, and that's what we're going to do here tonight. We're going to put it, everything from the worst to the best, and go through the entire franchise, and just gives us an opportunity to talk about this franchise that we love so much. So I'm really excited to hear what you have to say.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm excited to hear you guys have to say too about all the movies.
Well, as
we have like similar.
Yeah. Well, and as you may or may not know, we are very non-judgmental. We understand that everybody has, different favorites, and Austin and I don't necessarily agree on all the movies ourselves, and we're just we're all encompassing. So all are welcome on this podcast, whether you like one movie and hate another. We're just excited to hear what you have to say about it. So without further ado, let's get into it. So we're going to start. Should we start at the bottom? What's your least favorite of the Halloween franchise? Does that work?
Yes, that works.
All right. So what is your least favorite of the Halloween franchise?
It's a lot riding on this.
Yeah.
Okay. Before I say, I'm just fixing my lighting.
No, you're good. No, that's perfect.
I don't know which one to do, because I look at blue a little bit. Okay. My least favorite of all the Halloween movies ever made is Halloween Ends. For sure, without a doubt.
Really? Okay, so this one stings. We're gonna have to hit the ejection button right away. Yeah. It's been a fun 4 minutes and 15 seconds, but we're gonna So tell us more, because you are obviously not alone in this camp. There's a lot of people that absolutely hate Halloween Ends. Austin and I agree. We're in agreement that we actually do like it. So I want to hear, why is it that you hate Halloween Ends so much?
Okay. Actually, the guys on Not a Strong Start and I did a whole episode of our Halloween Ends. I don't want to say hate's a strong word, but we were pretty passionate about it. I will say that when I started watching Halloween Ends, I don't want to give away my second least favorite one, but that whole trilogy is not up there for me.
Sure. All right.
it just, yeah, I'll get into that. But I just remember watching Halloween Ends for the first time, and I've only seen it once. I don't know if I will revisit it. I'm sorry, guys, but my Canadian's going to come out a lot. I'm going to apologize a lot, just to let you know.
We're Minnesota.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. We get it.
Okay, good. Yeah, we're pretty close.
Yeah.
Okay, so I remember being like maybe 15 minutes into the movie, and I had to pause it, get up, walk away, make a drink. I wasn't saying anything. I was just like, okay, this is what's happening. This is where it's going. This is what I just had to like mentally prepare myself. Like, all right, we got geriatric Michael Myers in the sewer. Great, sure. That's a good contrast from him being just so kicking ass in Halloween Kills. Makes sense. So he's like not Shredder. He's Splinter in the sewers, like in Ninja Turtles. He's okay. Yeah. I couldn't stand seeing them do Mikey so dirty. Like, that's my boy, and he was just so. Like, they humanized him so much, but they're also trying to make him so supernatural, like, I guess, transferring powers through eyeballs to the freaking, what's his name even? I don't remember his
Corey.
name.
See,
Corey.
Corey's our boy, though, Marie. That's the thing you got to understand. You're talking about our boy here, but keep going.
It's not Corey's fault. Nothing in this movie is Corey's fault. Right. Except, come on, dude, I think you can beat up a little marching band. I'm just saying, you look like you can take care of yourself.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
There's just some choices in this movie where I was like, why are you doing this, David Gordon Green? Why? Like, Michael Myers regaining his powers as more killings. I'm just like, come on. I don't know. I just found that the legacy characters they added in were just in there for no reason, just like cheap to get people in the seats. Like, look, we have this person back and this person's back. And then they wasted them.
Right.
And
absolutely.
Yeah. Laurie was cringy in this movie when she's like baking and then she has that awful line of dialogue. And I'm like, this is not Laurie.
I agree. And that's the thing. So you bring up a really good point. It's something that we've talked about in the past, that they really did Lindsay Wallace, the character of Lindsay Wallace. They did her dirty in Halloween Ends because she had such a big role, or a bigger role, I guess, in Halloween Kills. And then it was just like, oh, she's just kind of a side piece here and nobody pays attention to her. So I agree that they did her wrong there, which is really unfortunate because I personally would love to see like a Lindsay Wallace, Tommy Doyle, whatever, right? The next movie, take it back to the 70s or the 80s or whatever, or 90s, and concentrate on them. But yeah, I agree. They really did. They did Lindsay wrong for sure.
I feel like they did every character wrong. Every OG Halloween character, like Corey, fine. But every Laurie Strode, Michael Myers, all the legacy characters, they all were done dirty. All of them. I just can't in my heart.
There was also some, you touched on this, but there was some very poor writing throughout the entire trilogy. And, we've talked about this on the show that I think when I first saw 2018, I was not a fan of it at all. And I think, honestly, a lot of it had to do with the writing and just some of the cringeworthy lines. And that definitely carries over into Kills. And I can see your point why in Ends, much like you're talking about when Laurie's baking the pie and she's like, drops the middle fingers. And I mean, it was just like, would she really say that? Would his grandma character say that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh,
yeah, I get it.
Yes.
I get it. So you're not a fan. Do you think you'll ever revisit Halloween Ends ever again? Do you think you'll give it a shot and be like, those guys on Halloween Lives podcast, they kind of convinced me a little bit to go back and maybe just revisit it one time in October and give it a shot?
Well, convince me. Why do you like it? Like, tell me why you like it. Tell me why I should watch it again. Come on, let's hear it. Bring it.
Okay, well, let's talk. I'll give my, Austin, you go first. I've been talking a lot. You go first.
Here's what I'll say about Halloween Ends is very few times in the 13 movies do we get something that feels fresh and different. Do I think maybe fresh and different to capstone to be the end might have been the wrong call? Maybe. Yes, I see that issue where this is supposed to wrap it all up. Why are we introducing new ideas here? I get that. But I do really like the way, and I know we've got geriatric Michael down in the sewer, but the way I see that scene with the eyes doing the flashback thing, I see that, or I prefer to see it, not so much of a literal transfer of superpowers, but more so just an understanding of kind of nature meets nurture, where Michael Myers was not, created to be like this. He just is like this. Meeting somebody who is that shape but was created like this, and in a way Michael is kind of like the father of Corey by creating this environment that shaped Corey. I'm probably reading into this on like a high school English level, but that is the way I see the movie, and I'm glad that Corey gets whacked at the end by Michael to prove that he is the ultimate Michael Myers. And there's lots of reasons people dislike the movie, and I think a lot of them are valid. I do agree that all of these movies are really, and we'll get into it, my biggest problem is with kills as far as the writing goes. But yeah, I see the points. I think it's worth a rewatch. If you go into it, maybe not expecting it to be, a Halloween 4 type of experience where you're going to get Haddonfield, Michael comes back, kills a bunch of people, and Michael kind of dies.
Mm-hmm. Here's why I'm going to convince you right here. It's a Halloween love story. It's a Halloween love story. Do you really want anything more in a movie than a love story in a Halloween film?
You're not selling this.
No. So I will say, here's the thing. I didn't necessarily care for the love story angle between Allison and Corey. But I thought it was interesting that they sort of brought that in there, and you saw sort of this transformation of Corey and how he was kind of spiraling out of control, and he was bringing Allison along. And then you saw Laurie start to sort of realize, wow, she's seeing similarities between the two. But I don't know. I'm not going to be able to convince you to watch it again at the end of the day, because I just know that the first time that I saw it, I had heard so many terrible things about it that when I went into it and I was watching it, I was kind of waiting for those moments like, what the frick is going on here? Like I was waiting for that moment where I was like, this is stupid. And it never happened to me. And though I don't necessarily care for the way that they killed Michael off, as far as like, wow, there's no question he's done, right? He's gone. I do respect the fact that they truly said, hey, we're closing the book on this thing, right? At least for this trilogy. So I can't give you a reason necessarily why you should rewatch it, but it is a movie that the cinematography I think is great. The score, soundtrack, some of the, just the music. I'm a big music guy. I love the music that was in it. I thought it was really, just beautifully filmed. Probably the best cinematography I think out of any of the movies as far as like that goes, right? Outside of the original. Those are really my reasons. And I didn't necessarily hate the storyline. It felt a little bit more believable, I guess, in my mind, that you went from kills where Michael got his ass absolutely kicked in that film to now he is this 61-year-old dude. And he's old and beat up and whatever. And so they were trying to kind of take the focus off of that. But to Austin's point, I agree. I love the fact that they killed off Corey at the end. And it was like, all right, dude, you're not the man. This guy's the man. The original guy in the mask, he's the man. And he kind of laid it down. So I'm not going to convince you to watch it again, but give it a shot. Just try it one more time. You never know. You may watch it again, and I have heard of people watching it again and being like, all right, maybe it wasn't as bad as the first time I saw it because I kind of know what to expect. But whatever. What do you got? What do you got for number 12? We'll move on. What's next on your list?
Well, I will say that I think if Halloween Ends was the first one in the trilogy, then maybe I would like it better, because then they could have done like they wanted to do in originally with Halloween supposed to be like an anthology with different Halloween type stories. And since they had the Halloween 3 font in the beginning, it's like they were like leading to that. It's like, well, then maybe this one should have been the first one, kill off Michael Myers right away, and then have new evil take new shape for a new trilogy.
Sure. That's a great theory. I never even thought about that, boy, but you're right. If they would have done it that direction, it would have definitely changed the way everything looks.
Sorry,
I like it.
Blurry.
Oh,
I'm blurry a little
there
bit.
There you go. You're good.
It makes the wrinkles go away. Okay. So my number 12 is Halloween Kills.
Okay.
Halloween Kills, I also did not like. Again, it was a hashtag not my Michael Myers movie. I think what they did with Michael being so, I know people say like, oh, finally we get to see Michael's power. And I was like, yeah, but to me, this isn't the Michael Myers as he was intended to be. He's like, he stalks more. He's like in the background. He's lurking. He's creepy. He does cat and mouse games. Him being like a Jason type killer. We already have movies reserved for that. We don't need to see Michael Myers like that. I don't know. But then there's also some people who love Halloween Kills, but then hate what they did in the Rob Zombie versions with Michael Myers. And it's like, well, at least they're from different timelines. Anyway, we'll get there. So I don't know how you guys feel about this aspect, but I am all for the brother-sister storyline. I like the brother-sister storyline. And when they kind of were like, Laura, you don't mean anything. He doesn't care about you. I'm like, what is the point of having her in this movie then? Why should we care about her? Why should we care about her family? Why is she even in here? Right. So yes, those are big reasons why I don't like Halloween Kills.
Well, number one, I think Austin and I are on the exact same page with this. We are not big Halloween Kills fans for multiple different reasons. Number one, we talked about it already. The writing, I think, is terrible. If I had to hear Evil Dies Tonight one more time, I was going to stab my ears. I mean, it's just like, it was so cheesy. And we kept getting it throughout the whole freaking film. And it's like, can we please stop saying that? But I will, I think the biggest thing for me with Halloween Kills is it just felt like, to your point, it felt like just a slaughter film, right? And for those fans who just want Michael to go out and kill people, that's what you got. And I don't need that, right? I love 1978 because he's really not like this crazy maniac who's just killing anybody that walks. He has a very specific goal in mind. And I would also agree that I truly like the brother-sister combo, just because it's the original storyline, right? I mean, no, we didn't know that necessarily in 78, but we got it in H2, and it gave a reason for why things were happening. Not necessarily a reason for like too deep into like Rob Zombie, I think, took it way too deep as far as like the storytelling and behind the scenes stuff. But I think it gave it some context for why this dude is doing what he's doing. Austin, how do you feel? I know maybe you might disagree with me there on that.
Yeah. So here's what I'll say. I think for me, I prefer them not to be brother and sister. But to your point, if you're going to do that, why did we focus so much on Laurie Strode and her family? If we were trying to get away from that sort of feeling, why did we end up doing the exact same thing that 4, 5, and 6 did? And H2O. Yeah, I'm with you there. I think Halloween Kills is easily the weakest of the new trilogy. Tommy Doyle is an unbearable character to watch on screen. Every scene, it's like out of a horrible like action movie, B action. He's like real grisly whenever he talks, and it's not believable. Yeah. And the weird subplot where there's the other Smith's Grove escapee who is chased through the town, and it's supposed to be symbolic of what Michael Myers is. I like that they're doing the symbolism, but you don't need to bash me over the head with it.
Yeah.
I'm a dumb movie watcher, but I'm not that dumb. I mean, I'll say this to the people, like if I was going to invite some friends over and they wanted to watch a Halloween movie, I'd probably throw that one on because it would have what they're kind of looking for, which is just Michael Myers murking people left and right.
But let's not forget about the flashback scene. How awesome is that?
Fair.
Uh-oh.
It was okay.
Oh, okay. Explain, please. Go on. We should have screened you better before we brought you on the show. Go ahead.
I like the differences. I like talking about the differences. I like that you guys like stuff I don't like and vice versa. I love it.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't like the mask that they did. I mean, I just think it didn't look right. I mean, out of the whole movie, maybe that was the best part.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's say that. Out of the whole movie, let's say that was the best part. But I don't know, man. The whole time I watched that movie, I'm like, this isn't Michael Myers. Even in the flashback scene, I'm like, it doesn't feel right, you guys. Like, it just didn't feel right. And like you said, with the whole like Smith, the guy escaping, like the whole commentary, we're the monsters. I'm like, spare me. Like, this is we don't need this commentary right now. Come on.
Yeah. I agree. And you brought up the mask, and that's something that we've talked about too. It was like, it's a cool mask if it was like if they were making a totally different Halloween film and that was the mask, I'd be like, dude, that is sweet. But there was something just a little off about it, that it didn't look exactly like the original. And if you put up the 1978 mask and the flashback mask, I would every single time with my eyes closed be able to tell you which one is the flashback mask because there was just something that was a little different about it.
Well, and I just think there's. Go ahead.
Oh, I just said I find it so odd, and because there's a lot of other Halloween movies where the masks aren't great that we're going to get into, but nowadays it's like you go on Instagram and there's people online that rehaul Halloween masks that look a billion times better than that mask, and it's like how are you guys still not getting it right?
Yeah, I agree. I totally
That's
agree.
Exactly what I was about to say. Is there are independent creators online who don't have the budget of these films that were able to recreate the mask. What I think 1,000 times better.
Oh yeah.
Right. Exactly. I agree. What about one thing that I will give credit to H Kills is I personally liked the Big John, Little John characters as far as how like the Myers house was brought back. The Myers house itself was almost a character in that film. I did like that. What did you think about those? Maybe not even necessarily those characters, but what did you think about them bringing the Myers house back in that form?
The Myers house, I accidentally took a big ice cube in my mouth when I drank my drink and I'm trying to like, get rid of it.
That's all right.
It was cute ice cube. I'm trying to choke. Okay.
Don't do that. You'd be the first guest who ever choked on the podcast, and we don't want that.
No.
The Myers house was my favorite part of the movie because I was like, ooh, look at that dining room. Look at the wallpaper they put out. I was like, they did a great job redecorating. I love that, Michael Myers. And I like the trick-or-treaters coming with the Halloween 3 masks on, right? They had Halloween 3 masks on. That was cool. And yeah, they were like some like comedic relief in the movie, I guess. But yeah.
I couldn't get past Stewart though. Like you knew Stewart, Stewart from Mad TV, and I forget the actor's name. It was like I just kept seeing Stewart the whole time when he was on screen. I mean, he's a good actor, but I wish they would have maybe picked a different actor for that character because I couldn't get past that. But that's neither here nor there. But all right, so Halloween. So we have Halloween Ends, Halloween Kills. Can I take a wild guess at where we're going with number? What would we be at 11? Is it
11? Yeah.
Is it 2018?
Nope.
Oh, okay. All right. So hit us with it. What do you got for 20 or number 11?
Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
Rock on.
It was like maybe a little too dark and gritty for me. Like it was like trying too hard, making Laurie. It seemed like Laurie was trying too hard to be like this like bad like wrecked chick, and like that actress, she's fine, but her voice, I'm like, this does not suit. Your voice is so adorable, and you're trying to be this bad tough chick, and I'm like, they couldn't fit together in my mind. But also like the whole like white horse flashbacks with the mom. I'm like, I don't know if you're going for some artistic here, dude, but I'm not getting it. I know you want your wife in every movie, but man, I just don't see this as being the way. And at the end, does Laurie like kind of turn like bad type thing? I mean, right?
Yeah, never kind of very confusing.
It depends on what cut you watch, I think, too. And yeah.
So that's my feelings.
Okay. Well, we're on the same page here because I have to be in a very particular special mood to watch H2, and normally it involves a couple beers or something.
I was going to say the mood is drunk.
Right. Because there's just like what I appreciate, and we'll obviously get into his 2000 remake or 2007 remake of Halloween, but he took it too far in H2. There was too much creativity, too much of like Rob Zombie's really messed up mind. And he's obviously a genius, right? He is a good filmmaker and he thinks outside the box, but they just gave him way too much authority to just run with that thing. And I agree with everything that you just said. I also didn't like, and I know that they had to change this for consistency's sake, but I didn't like that the Michael Myers kid was not the same as he was in 2007. Yeah. It was a totally different actor. The Rob Zombie's wife, Sherry Moon Zombie, once again, dude, you can stop putting her in every freaking movie or at least get her some acting lessons. My God, she is a terrible actress. But there was just so much we could pick apart with that film. Were there any particular moments in that film that you did like? Okay.
Which one does Annie get like stabbed and stuff in? Is it that one?
Yeah, that's that one. She's up in the bathroom and yeah.
Oh no!
She
no,
gets stabbed in both movies.
Well, that's true. Yeah,
Okay.
she does. You're right. Yeah, she gets stabbed in both movies. Yeah.
Well, anything to do with Annie, I like, because thank you very much for bringing Danielle Harris back. Like that was
Agreed.
my favorite choice of those movies, and anything with her in it, I was like, that's good. But I only watched the second one, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, like a couple times, so I can't really say like what I really liked about it because there's parts I probably don't remember.
Yep. What about the look of Michael? He has a very unique, distinct look with like the hobo Michael look. What did you think about that?
I think it suits that movie. I think it suits like that version of Michael Myers. I think like he would look pretty disheveled and rough, and you know, I think that was fine. I don't mind that at all for that particular series. Yeah.
I agree, and that's something once again we've talked about on the show that I'm a fan of that look. I don't know if they'd ever want them to go back to that again for another movie, but it makes a little bit more sense consistency wise that this dude is just out like living in the woods and living in people's fields, and he's got some extra coats on, and he's got a hood, and he's doing his thing. How do you feel about that, Austin? I think you're a fan of the hobo Michael Myers look.
Halloween is approaching, the big day, and I would be lying if today I wasn't looking around on eBay for some parts for Hobo Myers. Needless to say, yes, I am a big fan of that look, even though I'm not a big fan of that movie.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah. All right. Well, good. So we're doing pretty good here. We're doing pretty good. Where are we at now? Number 10. Where are we at with number 10?
Number 10 is 2018.
Cool.
Oh, okay.
And it's not because I actually 2018 is my favorite out of the trilogy. When I first watched it, I was like, oh, this isn't bad. Like I was like, okay, I kind of liked it. There's some cool deaths in it, and I thought it was filmed all right. But because it ties into the other ones, now I'm bitter about it. I'm like, because I mean, there's movies that are in my higher rankings that are worse movies. But we're talking about favorites, right? So it has to be that. I really was not a fan of the direction they took with Laurie, especially with not incorporating Halloween 2 in it. I thought that they made her so like this hillbilly, terrible mom, just wrecked, destroyed. And I'm like, dude, Halloween 2 didn't even happen to you. Like, I mean, I don't know how trauma works. I don't want to down her trauma. Right. But I feel like there's other movies that portrayed how I believe Laurie Strode would be if she had these traumatic things happen to her. She did not feel at all connected to Laurie Strode in the original Halloween movie, 1978. Felt a completely different character to me.
I totally agree with everything that you just said. And Austin calls her Rambo Laurie, which I think is a great assessment, right? She's Rambo Laurie. She's like, slinging guns, and she's doing the whole nine, and she's just got her house set up. She's MacGyvered her whole house to just, literally start on fire and burn to the ground at the end of the film, obviously. But I agree. We just talked about this. We did our H2O sort of dive a few weeks back, 2 weeks ago. And we both talked about the fact that we liked that version, the Carrie Tate version of Laurie Strode, sort of dealing with some PTSD, dealing with some alcohol, maybe some narcotic abuse, things like that, right? But she's trying to kind of keep her life together and doing the best that she can, given the fact that she went through in that film both the Halloween 78 and then the H2 version of that night, right? So she went through both the Haddonfield thing and then obviously the Haddonfield Memorial Hospital thing. I like that version of her much, much better.
Oh, yeah.
I agree. I think if you're looking at Laurie from 78, her progression into being like a teacher and a headmaster makes a lot more sense than her progressing into like a survivalist / like home trap builder / gunslinger. She's just too many things. Have a thing and have that thing and no more. I don't know. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Agree.
What about one thing that we haven't touched on here, I guess, which is something that I guess I did mention this regarding ends, but how about the score for the David Gordon Green trilogy, the soundtrack? I mean, did you like that? Because I did think that was, no matter what, I thought that was a really positive side to get John Carpenter back in there and to score those films. What did you think about that?
Oh, I have no complaints about the score. I liked it, like that big like "Rrrr" that comes in when it gets like going. I'm like, yeah. I have a couple songs on like my like workout playlist. I'm like, yeah, let's go. You know? I like it. I have no complaints about that at all. The music was great.
That was talking about, obviously with 2018. I remember sitting in the theater, and Austin and I didn't see it in the theater together, but I've mentioned this on the podcast that watching 2018 in the theater for the first time, I remember kind of feeling a little deflated, a little let down because it wasn't really doing much for me. And then there was that scene where I think the song maybe that you're talking about is The Shape Hunts Allison, Austin? Is that what it is? The Shape Hunts Allison. Mm-hmm. That song came on when Oscar takes the fence through the face and Michael shows up, and it was just like, okay, this is cool. This is the Halloween film that I wanted to see because it felt like, okay, Michael is officially back. So yeah, the score was, in my opinion, was awesome throughout the trilogy, and definitely a bright spot where there were a lot of dull moments throughout.
Yeah.
All right, so we've knocked those ones out. Where are we heading next? Now is when I'm starting to get really excited because now we're starting to move our way down the list a little bit, and things are gonna have to start falling into place for you here. So where are we heading next?
The bottom bit, okay, the middle bit, the middle rankings were so tough. There's so many can like rearrange depending on my mood, but
right.
Okay, so my number 9 is Halloween 3, but I've only seen Halloween 3 once, and it was last year.
Oh, okay. So you're new to the Halloween 3 film. Okay.
Yes, I mean, growing up watching Halloween, like I've been watching Halloween since elementary school. Like my dad used to bring me to the movie store and he'd rent me Halloween 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6. I think 6 was out. And I'd sleep over at my friend's house. We'd watch them all in one night. It was like every weekend. So I always skipped 3 because I liked Halloween because I loved Michael Myers. Loved Michael Myers. So I was like, I don't need 3. He's not even in it. So, but then last year I was like, I got to watch it, obviously. And I liked it. It's just I haven't watched it enough to really give it a higher ranking, but I did like it. I like that it was originally what John Carpenter wanted to do, like more of the anthology thing. I love the opening to it. The opening is so good and have such creepy, spooky Halloween vibes. I liked seeing Michael Myers on the TV in the bar, right? He's in a bar and there's like a commercial or something.
Right. Yeah.
Love that. There's some good deaths in it and everything. I like it as a movie. It's just I haven't watched enough to rank it any higher than that. I think it's still in a pretty good spot for me.
Well, your story is very similar to mine and probably Austin's as well, because I probably saw it for the first time maybe 6 or 7 years ago. I had owned it on DVD. I bought it in a twin pack with Halloween 2 and Halloween 3. They came together, and that thing sat in my DVD shelf or on my DVD shelf for years. I mean, probably the better part of a decade before I actually watched it. And it grew on me very quickly, and now it's kind of become a staple for me. But I think, Austin, you kind of had a very similar experience where probably like most people were not a fan of it originally, and then you sort of grew into it.
Well, yeah, Blaine and I were renting these movies from like Hollywood Video back when that was a thing for so long. And then I remember when you like sat down to watch it, Blaine, you had said to me like, dude, this is actually really good. And you invited me over to your old townhouse and we watched it together on like a laptop. And I remember being like, oh, this movie is awesome. And I think it's all just like, you got to go into it with an open mind and think of it as a completely different horror movie. We always say, call it Season of the Witch, drop the Halloween, and it's a huge hit. But yeah, I think it's the original Stranger Things is what I've described it as. And
yes,
it's a great film in my opinion. And I like that you have it where you have it. I think it's going to climb in your ranks as you watch it for more years.
Yeah, that would actually be interesting. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it too. They were like an original Stranger Things. That's good. And this is your story about you guys meeting and watching it together is so sweet.
I don't think, I'll be honest with you, I don't think I was there. I think he's thinking of a different brother that he doesn't have. But I don't remember this. I don't remember this at all.
Nice.
I can tell you where we were, man. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember that at all, but I believe you. What about, we can't forget about Tom Atkins' mustache in that film. Was it great or was it great? Right?
Always great. Always great. Yeah.
Right. No, I hear you. I hear where you're at. And like Austin said, I'd be curious to talk to you a few years down the road to see if you watched it again and if it kind of grows on you. And to Austin's point, I think and we've said it before, if they had just called it Season of the Witch, it would have probably been an awesome like Halloween holiday film. But the fact that you were trying to get this in line with what you had just seen in 78 and again in 81 with H2, people were like, WTF, what's going on here? And I completely understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
I mean, it's a better movie than my number 8, that's for sure, and my number 6. It's a better movie, but it's like I try to look at this list as which one would I put on to watch the most. If I wanted, like, which one would I put on? So yeah, that's the way
you should do it, because there is a lot of like pressure, I would say, especially with your top picks. Because if you don't have what like the internet says are like the best Halloween movies, you know, you'll get attacked or whatever. But like, I think we've made it clear with our love for ends already that we don't care about that, and you should choose what you love.
That's right.
Thank you.
That's right. Perfect. Okay, so Halloween 3 is at number 9. Where are we heading with number 8?
All right. Halloween Resurrection.
Perfect. It lines up. Awesome. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I don't know if you guys watch my show ever, but I am a huge sucker for found footage horror. It's my favorite genre of movies, and they have that element in it, and I'm just like, yeah, I love it so much. I like that it was kind of like a reality show, because for the time it came out, that's when reality shows were really starting to be popular, and I thought it was genius to like kind of tie that in. It's so cheesy. The acting's bad. There's so many bad parts, but you can't. Can I swear on this?
You can swear. Fuck.
I mean, come on, like trick or treat, motherfucker. You cannot.
Trick or treat, motherfucker.
There you go.
It's amazing, just for that line alone. Come on.
Right. Yeah.
I like it.
And okay, so as long as we're on that specific topic with this movie, I would rather see old decrepit Michael Myers in a sewer than him get his ass kicked by a taekwondo, Busta Rhymes. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And so you bring up a good point. Like, and I'm a big fan of found footage horror films as well. I see you got the Blair Witch tattoo. Blair Witch is top 5 favorite film for me. So
easily.
Awesome. But we see a lot of references, cultural references to what was going on at that time. They make like a Survivor reference, like you're about to get kicked off the island and things like that. And I do like that aspect of that film, that that movie is from that era. Like there's no question, because you were getting all of that, and kind of a cool idea to do this sort of internet show where people are going to sit around their computer on Halloween night and watch this and things go to hell. I thought that was cool.
Really good.
Yeah, no, for sure. Austin's a big Busta Rhymes fan.
I think Busta at 8, I'll accept it. But that it's definitely, that's the bright spot in the movie for me. Michael Myers getting kung fu roundhouse kicked in the face, and electrocuted in the nards. I'm pretty sure it's just there's a lot going on in that film. But it is what it is, and I think that's a fair place to put it. I do like that they went heavy into the like early 2000s culture, because I think at that time there was a shift in horror movies, and they were on the very early end of it, so they didn't really know where it was gonna go. And you got to try to make this franchise survive, for the next however many years. Now it did end the franchise, so they failed in that, and it was rebooted a few years later, whatever. But I appreciate it for what it was and what they were trying to do.
Yeah, one of my favorite scenes in that movie actually is in the beginning. I don't really like how Laurie dies in that movie, but I do love the scene how there's that like guy in the asylum or hospital, whatever, and when he's talking about all the serial killers, and when he sees Michael, he's like Michael Myers, and then he's giving the recap. I got goosebumps right now just saying it. Saying like the recap of like all the people he's killed and everything. That is like my most favorite parts of that whole movie. Loved it.
I agree. That's an awesome scene because you're seeing sort of where Michael Myers is culturally from like a 10,000 foot view, as far as like he is a well-known serial killer. He's not just the Haddonfield boogeyman. He is beyond that, to the point that this dude in the asylum is like obsessed or knows all these facts about Michael Myers. I agree. I thought that was really cool. I also kind of going back to like the Myers house being a character in itself. I like the fact that everything took place in the Myers house. I thought that was really cool that they recreated it, and it was all part of that. Let's talk about the mask. Fan, not a fan. What did you think about that mask?
I think in comparison to some masks that came before it, I think this one was not bad. Okay. It was not bad. I would like nothing to compare to the 78 beautiful right. 78 mask. But this one wasn't bad. It was a step up, I think, from some other ones like 5 and 4 and H2O.
Yep. I hear you. I hear you. It's the first mask that I ever owned. So Halloween Resurrection was the first film I ever saw in the theater for Halloween. And then it was the first Halloween mask that I ever owned. So that mask, even though it's kind of a love-hate thing for me, like I love it, but I hate it at the same time. And I think I love it more for like nostalgic reasons than I do really for its look. Austin mentioned the upper lip, and now that's all I can see. Like it's got a giant like gap between the nose.
It's like 9 miles long between his nose and his upper lip. But he's an upper lip, a mouth job or whatever away, and an eyebrow waxing away from being like a really, really nice mask.
Yeah. A really good looking Michael Myers. Yeah. I hear you. So, okay. That's cool. I like where that ended up on your list, sort of, getting closer to middle of the road, I guess. So what do you have next? Where are we going with number 7?
Number 7 is the Rob Zombie one.
There we go. Okay. Awesome. So 2007's Rob Zombie, Halloween.
Only the theatrical cut, not the director's cut.
Sure.
Okay.
Have you seen
so
both?
talk about that. Yeah. So talk about the differences. Yeah.
I can see why.
Yeah. So talk about that. Why is it the theatrical cut and not the director's cut?
Okay. The director's cut, I remember I watched it in the theater. So that was the version that I saw first. Okay. And I remember leaving that movie and I'm like, because I'm going to a Rob Zombie movie, right? So I'm fully prepared to see some stuff that is of a certain nature because he always has to put this stuff in the movie. And I walked out and I was like, I'm so glad that he didn't throw a scene like that in there, Right. And then I was like, the director's cut, I'll rent that. And I'm like, there it is.
Yeah, right, exactly. You got it.
That's why.
Yep.
But I found the theatrical cut, the way he escapes in the theatrical cut, where he like busts out them chains and like kills all those people. I was like, that is so much more of an effective Michael Myers. Look at his strength and look at his rage scene than just like, I'm escaping because these guys are distracted being gross. Like it was the theatrical cut I think is just like so much better, and it shows Michael, and it's just, you want to see Michael in like power, that's it to me. But the reason why I'm more accepting of the Michael and his power in the Rob Zombie one than in Kills is because he isn't John Carpenter's Michael Myers. He's a reimagining. It's totally inspired by Halloween, taking the same-ish story, but making it very much more realistic. The interpretation is just more like, what am I saying? Like psycho, give me a word. I need the word.
I mean, he made it his own. I mean, Rob Zombie took the character and he made it his own.
Yeah, it's more of a psychological type thing. It's not like, I'm a supernatural being and I'm evil and it doesn't die. He's like just like psychologically he's messed up, which is from being a child. And then this is more of like a realistic interpretation of Michael Myers, but he's just like really freaking strong, pretty much. Right. So I like that. I like that Rob Zombie took it, made it his own vision, and I think he did a really good job with it. I actually like it a lot.
Yeah. And I think once again, to your point, I think if you're going to remake a movie, don't just remake it scene by scene by scene and just do what we've already seen, right? I mean, take something and do something different with it. And I did like that. I appreciated that with his Halloween 1 version. I didn't like the Halloween 2 version as we've already talked about, but I agree with you that the theatrical cut is much better than the director's cut because he Rob Zombied it too much in the director's cut, right? He really hit home on like this white trash kind of like he did what he does in all of his other films. He takes it to like the nth degree, and it was like, dude, we don't need that, right? I mean, we don't need to see that in every single film. So I love how you put that, and I agree with you 100% that the theatrical cut is far better than the director's cut.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. I think you brought up something really cool, that it is kind of like the most realistic take on Michael Myers. It's if Michael Myers and Haddonfield was in like the scummiest part of the earth, but yes, it is very realistic. It's just every supporting character, even for their redeemable factors, is kind of twisted to be a piece of shit in a Rob Zombie movie. So
yes,
right. No, exactly.
I think that the beginning, like childhood aspect of it is a little too long in this movie, but then that means more of Sherry Moon Zombie for him. So I guess maybe it's like, I need to get my wife in there as much as I can. But that was a little too long, but I did like to see the progression of Michael becoming worse and worse and worse and worse. Like he's stalking like that kid that he kills in the woods, right? Like he's stalking him. He's pulling Michael doing that. He's killing animals. So you see him like gradually become, but that could have been a little bit more condensed. But other than that, I think it was a really good reimagining of Halloween. Really good.
I agree. I find myself when I watch that film, and for some reason I watch that on October 1st every single year. It's like my go-to film. Austin, you do the same thing. I don't know why. I watch that film every year on October 1st. It puts me in sort of the Halloween mood. But I find myself sort of, probably about the time where, he kills the kid and then he goes home and he kills Judith and the boyfriend. That's about after that, I kind of start to like lose interest a little bit. Like I start to go down a little bit and fade out. And maybe I'm grabbing my phone. I'm, on Instagram or I'm sending texts or whatever. But then obviously once they get to the point where the three girls are introduced coming out of high school and you're like, okay, now we are at the actual remake portion of this film. That's when I'm like, all right, this is good. I mean, you did something different with it and I can appreciate exactly where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm. Yay.
All right, so we're on the same page. No, that's perfect. Okay, so Halloween 2007, it's off the books. I think are we on number 6? Is that where we're at?
Yeah.
Okay, hit us with it.
Number 6 is Halloween 6: The Curse of Michael Myers.
Okay.
Perfect.
I mean, I tried to watch this the other night, and it wasn't streaming anywhere in Canada for free. It used to be, but I was like, I don't feel like renting it. I know, but I was trying to watch as many as I could leading up to this. But I mean, Paul Rudd, Rudd's like first movie, right? Like just
Paul Stephen Rudd. Yeah.
I mean, he's so weird in this movie, and I've loved him ever since I saw him in this movie. The Thorn stuff is a little. They tried to like give him a backstory as to why he's the way he is, and I was like, yeah, okay, it's a little. I guess, sure. But this one has like a really Halloween vibe, like the whole like festival type thing they're having outside and everything. I love Jamie's death scene in this movie. I remember being a kid, and that was my favorite kill, was her putting her on that machine and turning it on. I was like, yeah, every time I saw that. That sounds creepy, but that was my favorite part. And just Halloween 6, not bad. And that mask isn't too bad either. I think it's a step up from 4 and 5, but it's all right. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Once again, I think we're 100% on the same page. Number one, you hit on a great point, and we've talked about this before, that Halloween 6, it feels like Halloween. Like it's autumn. You see the leaves. It's kind of rainy and shitty weather. Like it feels like Halloween. You talked about the Halloween festival. I want to go to that on Halloween night. I don't know anywhere that does it. I think like Salem, Massachusetts has a big Halloween festival on Halloween night, but that's what I want to go to. Like this giant street parade thing with they got the fires burning and the DJ up on stage. Like that's what I want on a Halloween night. And the mask is, I really like the mask a lot. I mean, that whole character, George Wilbur playing Michael in that movie, he was like he was vicious. Like there was a different level
Yes.
of like aggression that Michael showed in that film. Did you notice that too?
Yes, you're absolutely right. I was going to put that. I forgot to put that in my notes. I mean, you're right. He's brutal in that movie.
He is. Yeah. I mean, he's not Tyler Mane Halloween 2 brutal, but he's like in my opinion, it's almost like the perfect amount of like, he doesn't necessarily cross a line, but you get that whole scene in the hospital when he goes in and slaughters all those doctors and the nurses and whatever's going on. Such a great scene, right?
Mm-hmm. It is. I need to rewatch it. I'm just gonna suck it up and rent it, Marie. Fork out the $6.99.
Right. Yeah, Austin, what's your thoughts on H6? I know you're kind of more in the middle, I think, but you probably haven't watched that one as much, right?
So yeah, that is probably 5 and 6 are like the two that I probably watched the least in the franchise. And you guys were bringing up a really good point, and Michael Myers in that film is kind of the edge of how aggressive I like my Michael to be. I prefer much more what you're talking about at the beginning, that cat and mouse stalker. I always call him like a swift reaper in that first movie, where he's just quick in and out kills. He's more of just a shadow for the majority of the time. But you get that in part 6, and you get a little bit more of that brutal side to him that, certainly there's a huge audience for, especially with the Rob Zombie films and the new trilogy as well.
Yeah. I can forgive, okay, so the brutality of Michael in Halloween Kills, I can't forgive as much as like how brutal he is in Halloween 6. In Halloween 6, you're seeing him in Halloween 1, Halloween 2, and then Halloween 4, Halloween 5, and Halloween 6. Like he's like, all these family members keep popping up. I need to kill everybody. Now there's a new baby. Jeez. Like he's pissed. And it's more of a progression. It's not just like, oh, Halloween 1, then there's Halloween like kills right after. It's just like, no. I really am bitter about this David Gordon Green trilogy, you guys.
I can't tell at all. I can't tell at all that you are not a fan. I get it though. Yeah, and once again, like I think, and I forget because Austin and I ranked the franchise very early on when we started doing this podcast, and I don't remember exactly where 6 ends for me, but it ended up much more close to the top than I had anticipated when I was putting my list together, and it's probably right about where you have it, 5, 6, something like that. And it's a film that when I first saw it, I was not a fan of the Thorn trilogy or the Thorn idea, right? And that has grown on me over the years. And I think the way that I look at that is, Halloween 5 ended with like this weird, who the hell is this man in black? And he just blew up this jail and all this shit. And you're like, what is happening here? So I think to take really that scene and to do something with it and it come up with this storyline of, oh shit, there's like this whole cult thing going on and they blew him up or brought him out of this jail and he's escaped. And I was kind of like, okay, now it all sort of makes sense. Have you seen the producer's cut of Halloween 6?
I don't know if I have, but I've heard of the differences and stuff. I maybe have. I don't know what I rented back from Blockbuster way back in the day. Maybe it was. Right. I don't remember which one I've seen and which one I haven't. If
you haven't, and if you ever somehow come across it on eBay or whatever, I would highly encourage you watch it or get it because, or if you can find a place to rent it online, I don't know. But watching the producer's cut, I actually like the producer's cut better than the theatrical version. And it made me appreciate the film more and what they were trying to do with it, because I think they do a better job of explaining some things where there's just a lot of loose ends with part 6. So yeah, I would encourage you, if you haven't seen it, go check it out because it's pretty cool.
Okay, I'm going to have to. I'm going to make that note of that.
Make a note of it.
Worth it. There are websites on the internet that you could find it, but we wouldn't recommend any sort of.
We would never, under any circumstances, ever promote those websites. Yeah, exactly.
Of course not.
But you can go to www. No, I'm just kidding. I would check it out. Check it out if you can, because it's definitely worth a watch. And it's kind of like watching a different Halloween film in a way, because there are so many differences and something new, fresh, and exciting. So awesome. That is number 6 is 6. Where are we at with number 5?
First, is it okay that am I talking too much? It's almost an hour.
Oh, you're doing awesome.
Okay.
You're doing awesome.
Okay, because I'm having fun. Okay, so my number 5 is Halloween 5.
Okay.
when I was a kid, 4 and 5 were my favorite. I don't know if it's because I just love Danielle Harris so much in it. Like her little screaming in this with no sound coming out and her little seizures and everything. Give her an award. She was so good, and she's so good in Halloween 4, but in Halloween 5, what? She's like writing and not looking, and I'm like, how is this chick doing this? I'm like, she's so, I just watched this the other night, and I just like I like Halloween 5 a lot. There's things I don't like about it, like the stupid clown noises that the cops make when they walk. Like, oh, please.
Yeah, I agree.
Unneeded. But that part I didn't like of it. I also didn't like Rachel's Boba Fett death, and I say a Boba Fett death because she deserved a hero death, because I think Rachel was so badass, and I think her death was just now it's Boba Fett death, but you know what I'm saying. So that I didn't like, but I love one of my favorite Halloween scenes ever in all the movies is the brute mask scene. Tina and Michael in the car, and he has that mask. Oh, and you see his like eye through it, and she goes and like kisses him. He's gripping oh my God, that tension in that scene. Yes. Oh, I love that scene. And I used to hate Tina when I was a kid. And now that I'm older, I'm like, I freaking love Tina. I love her. And she's so good. Just Rachel, I bought you a present. Like, it's like my most favorite Tina moment. I just love her. I like Halloween 5 a lot.
I love it. Yeah. Well, so you touched on a lot of great points. So number one, I agree 1,000% that Rachel was done wrong. She should not have been killed off. I mean, I get it if they needed to knock her off at some point in the film, but they shouldn't have killed her off that early. No. Just way too unfortunate. Even though I do like that scene, like you get that awesome 80s song that's playing, and she's dancing around the bedroom and she's doing the whole thing, and the dog is barking, and you get Michael stalking around. Like, I do like that scene. I didn't like that it was so early on in the film. I wish they would have carried that on. You bring up an awesome point with Tina. We talked about this. We kind of ranked like underappreciated characters. And
we're team Tina.
We're team Tina. It's like people lose their freaking minds about how much they hate Tina. It's like, what do you hate about it? Like, what's somebody needs to explain to me why you don't like Tina.
She's so quirky and endearing, and she's like this, like just wild, like whatever girl. I love her, but she's emotional at times. She has some depth. I love Tina.
Right, exactly. One of my favorite moments from the entire franchise takes place in that film, and that's the whole like tower farm scene where you not only have the Halloween party going on in the house, but you have the barn scene where Tina and Spitz, and I'm blanking on Samantha, they all go into the barn, and she finds the cat, and the other two are off doing their thing. And I just think that's so like Halloween feeling. There's something about like an old barn at a farm, and it's Halloween, and this Halloween party's going on. I just love that whole portion of that film. I thought that was so well done.
So, and that random Halloween party, and there's this weird old lady in the room. You guys ever notice that party?
Really?
There's some random old. Oh my God! Yeah, there's some old lady sitting there, and she's looking at all the people dancing. Like, what? It's like, is this her house?
That's awesome. Now I have to pay attention because I've never noticed her before. It must happen so quick that I guess I've never noticed it. But now you give us something to look forward to.
You gotta.
That's awesome. Yeah, I Austin Ward is age 5. Once again, I think you kind of talked about this, that 5 is not one that you watch a lot of, but you agree, disagree? Where are we at?
I watch it every year. 5 is kind of one of the ones that I'm less excited about, but you do bring up a really good point that I really appreciate about 4 and 5 is the farm town kind of feeling that those two movies really specifically have. Blaine and I grew up in a farm town, and that kind of like fields, and there's corn out, and just a lot more of that outdoor look. Obviously you got Michael Myers with like a scythe in this movie and more like farming equipment. I'm cool with that. I like, even though I think it teeters the tiniest bit into Jason's territory, I think it's in a safe spot. It's not quite there with like the kind of blue collar equipment that Jason prefers to kill people with. But I think 5 is a cool movie. It's definitely towards the bottom for me, but it's Michael Myers. We love it.
You brought up an awesome point, Marie, about the Tina sitting in the car with Michael, who she thinks is her boyfriend, who's name is also Michael. That is such a cool scene because she's saying, Michael, Michael, aren't you going to open the door for me, Michael? And super cool. That great part of that movie.
It's so good. And just the fact that they made him have her boyfriend's character have the same name, that was genius.
Yes.
You see his point of view looking at her through and he hears breathing in the mask. I'm like, this is so good.
Yep.
Another thing that the thing about Rachel is Rachel went through Halloween 4 and all the deaths of people in Halloween 4. Her boyfriend, even though he wasn't the best, he redeemed himself a little. But she saw a bunch of people die. Her adopted little sister stabs her mom in the bathtub, and she's all happy-go-lucky and fine, like, whatever, who cares? I'm fine. Shut up, Max.
Right.
And then they make Lori like this, like Rambo Lori in the Halloween new one, and she had all this time. Like, look at Rachel. Be more like Rachel.
Yeah. Be more like Rachel. Absolutely. We need to get that like as a t-shirt. Be more like Rachel. Everybody needs a little more Rachel in their lives. Yeah, that's
Team
a great
Tina.
point.
Team Tina shirt and be more like Rachel.
You're on to something here. We need to get together and market this idea because I agree. Yes. I don't get the hate for Tina. Somebody needs to tell me why she's so bad. And 100% on Team Rachel. She should have lived. It would have been awesome to just even get if they would have done a spin-off movie of that, 4 and 5 where she had survived and you got to see Rachel living her life and Michael still after her. I mean, whatever, right? She didn't deserve to get whacked out like she did. But All right, so number 5. So we're going on to 4. We're getting down to the wire now.
Yes. So 4 is Halloween 4. I had these all pretty 4, 5, 6 or 4, 5, 6 for me.
Yeah, I like this. Okay.
It's all right. Okay. Doing okay. I'm redeeming myself past Halloween Ends.
Yeah,
you're that. Okay.
You're reeling us back in. In. Go ahead. Yep.
So Halloween 4, the opening of Halloween 4, the opening credits is just, I could just watch that on repeat a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Like, that's Halloween feeling and Halloween vibes. Like the opening alone is so good. I don't even know really what to say too much about this movie, except I just love it. And I love Rachel, and I love they kept the family aspect tied, and and that Lori is dead or faked her death, we don't know. And then she has a little daughter, and he's still hunting to kill his family. I thought that added more like depth to like Michael's character in the story, and I just love it. And again, Daniel Harris is so perfect, and Rachel's a badass, and I just really, really love Halloween 4. Love it.
Right. Yeah, it feels like Halloween, much like Halloween 6. It feels like Halloween, and that it starts out, you're 100% right with that opening, which is just so freaking amazing. It is so awesome. It sets the tone. I watch Halloween 4 on Halloween Day every year. I have a very set routine with how I watch my films in October. There's like movies that I have to watch, and I have to watch it on this day, otherwise it just doesn't feel right. And Halloween 4 I watch on Halloween Day. It's one of the movies that I watch on Halloween Day, and it's just so special. That opening scene is like the mailbox with the skull on the front. Like, my God, It is freaking amazing. So, very, very great movie. In my opinion, one of the best, if not the best, sequel to 78. I loved it. And I was actually super surprised to hear last week, Sean Clark. I've never heard anybody say they didn't like Halloween 4. Sean didn't like Halloween 4, which blew my mind because I've never heard anybody say that. Most people, it's like a top, 3, 4, 5 film. Yeah. So I was surprised to hear that, but yeah.
In my head, it's the perfect sequel, even though I do really enjoy Halloween 2. I think 4 is like it laid the blueprint of kind of what a Halloween sequel should be, because 2 is obviously just kind of a continuation of 1. 4 is its own thing. I love this movie. I think it's damn near perfect minus the mask. You put a different mask on Michael in that film.
Yeah.
And we're having a totally different conversation about, all-time favorites, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Yep, I totally agree. What did you think of the mask in part 4?
Yeah, not one of my favorites. I think probably one of my least favorites. I think I might like it better than Halloween 5, because Halloween 5 has like this bird-esque-ness to it, and the switchback hair, and this like.
Right.
But Halloween 4 was more of like a just white blank. It just looked like there was no character to it, and just blank white, and just the black eyes, the hair. I don't know. I'm not a fan of it. The other part of it, like them taking him out of the hospital, just flashed in my head, and I just love that scene. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. And when the music starts, when they're putting the stretcher down the stairs, go outside, I'm like, okay, here we go, and just a thumb through the. Oh man, I
yeah. The practical effects were great in that film.
Yes.
They were awesome in that film. Yeah, and you get it's raining, and you get that line when they're going down. I forget which one, if it's the man and the woman who's like Jesus, and he's like, Jesus ain't got nothing to do with this place. It's like, it's just so 80s, and I loved it. I loved it.
I actually heard somebody say recently that they should have stuck with just the bandaged mask for that film, and I was like, that's kind of a cool idea. It's kind of the reverse of what Jason does in the Friday movies, going from like the hood to the mask. But I could have been a cool look for Michael in that film.
I agree.
That's interesting. I never would have thought about that either. But that's true.
Yeah.
So we've already talked about Halloween 3. So I know that's not number 3 on your list. Where are we going next with number 3?
Number 3 is Halloween 2.
Yes.
And I just love Halloween 2. I love that it's all in one night. I hate her wig.
Yes.
That's probably like the only thing in the movie that I don't like is that wig. One of my favorite, probably my favorite kill in all the Halloween franchise is the hot tub.
Yes. So kill. Amazing.
I love when Michael's holding her. First of all, he's like playing with her mind. This is the Michael Myers I like. And he has his hand gentle, and she's like all with his hand. And I'm like, this is so creepy and so messed up. And when he's holding her in the water and you see his thumb like dig in her back, I'm like, oh, he means it. Like he's like, and he doesn't care. His hand's getting wet. He's Michael Myers, man. I love that kill. The kills in this movie are so good. The needle in the temple, the scalpel in the back. Like I love the kills in this movie. I love this whole movie, the vibe, the red lighting at times. I love Halloween 2.
It's a great film. So Halloween 2 once again is one of the movies that I always watch in Halloween, and it's the last film that I watched 78 and H2 back to back on Halloween night. In Halloween, the night of Halloween always ends for me with the Mr. Sandman playing, is because that's how it goes out. And it's just like, that's how I end my Halloween every year, is going out to that song, because it's how it ends, right? And you're right. Great kills in that film. There's like, he bleeds out the nurse, like she's just laying on the table. You don't actually see that death scene, but he somehow figured out how to give her an IV and bleed her out. And the hot tub scene, no questions asked, is one of the best kills in the entire franchise. And we talked about this very early on in one of our episodes too, where she's like freaking kissing on his finger and shit.
I know.
Like, does that not taste a little weird to you? Does it taste
so
like,
gross,
like death? Does
it taste like dog?
Right.
There's a little bit dog on those fingers.
Right, exactly. It's just disgusting. But yeah, it's a great scene. You see Bud in the back. He's getting strangled out, and just a classic scene. Great soundtrack, great score, very 80s. You got that opening scene with the pumpkin with the skull that comes out of it. And then obviously you roll into sort of, Halloween night of 1978, and you don't even know what death is, that whole thing, right? I mean, just some great lines that have lasted the test of time with the Halloween franchise.
It's beautiful.
Love it.
It is.
Love it. Yeah, it's a great film. We agree 1000% with that. Now it's going to get interesting, because I already know. Oh, sorry, Austin, did you have something?
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm really happy with the last 2 movies that are still on the board here. And I'm cool with whatever you got to say for the rest of the show.
I know where you're going with this. Or at least I think I know where you're going with this. But obviously the people watching have no idea. But hit us with, what is your second favorite or second most likely to watch film of the Halloween franchise?
My second most likely to watch Halloween film is the OG 78.
Let's go. Good for you. I'm so happy for you for not feeling the pressure to put that at number 1. Even though we both put it at number 1, I think there's so much pressure, and I've been waiting for somebody to do this.
I just don't care. I'm so confident in my Halloween love and how I feel about this franchise. I have just this is how I feel. This is who I am. And I have no regret saying this. 1978, is it a better movie than H2O? Yeah, probably. Is it my favorite? No, it's not. If I'm choosing a movie to put on at night, I probably watch Halloween H2O 10 times more than I watch 78. And I love 78. It's what I think. Actually, I don't remember the first Halloween movie I ever watched, so I can't say it was the first one that made me fall in love with it and fall in love with Michael Myers. But I just, it is amazing. Is the OG like vision for Halloween, and I think that the filming is so good, and it was so like it changed cinema. I think like that first person. I mean, there's other movies that had the first person view, but I think that Halloween really that was the most more popular movie that did it. But I love 78. I love the blue and dark coloring in it. I love Michael Myers so much. The mask is so beautiful. And I like it, but we'll talk about H2O. But H2O is still my number one.
I love it. H2O was the first film that I ever saw, or the first Halloween film that I ever saw. So I can completely understand your appreciation for it. It was the first time I saw Michael Myers. Our mom rented the VHS for me at the time. I think I might have been sick because I remember watching it in my room and laying down, which I wouldn't have normally done. I would have been sitting in a chair or something in my room. And I remember watching it and being like, wow, this is actually pretty cool. And then falling in love with the franchise, right? I mean, getting into, the original and part 2 and part 4. I mean, just such an awesome way to kind of kick off my love of the franchise with that, because it was a follow-up in a lot of ways to Scream, which we got in 1996. Yeah. It was very a lot of parallels, right? I mean, it was just the time that era of horror films. But I love that well, we'll get into it, but the OG, yeah. Right? So yeah. OG. So yeah. What can you say about it, right? It's great. It's awesome. It's set the tone. Everybody knows everything about 1978. So let's move on to your love of H2O. Tell us, like, give us the absolute rundown. What are your favorite scenes? Who are your favorite characters? What makes Marie love H2O that much?
Okay, you guys have another hour because okay. So Halloween H2O. I actually just did recently a episode where my friend Kevin from Watch Horror Films and I talked about Halloween H2O and our love for it. Right. And there's so much I can say. I'll try to condense it as much as I can. But this movie, I think my number one favorite thing about it is what they did with Laurie and her character. And I watched your Halloween H2O episode, and everything you guys said, absolutely perfect, exactly how I feel. I love how they tied so many aspects of older Halloween movies into Halloween H2O. Like, I love how when Laurie's having visions of Michael and she does her eye closing thing, that's exactly what the little boy in Halloween 6 does when he's having visions. He closes his eyes. They took so many little tiny tidbits of everything that I love about Halloween. They threw it in this movie. They kept Michael like the original vision of Michael, where they didn't want any blood or any gore at all in the 78 version. Like, getting that little strip of blood on Jamie Lee Curtis's arm, like that's where they drew the line. Like, they didn't want the gore and stuff. So when people are like, oh, Michael's kind of like a wuss in Halloween H2O, I'm like, no. This is what like the original Michael was intended to be. So I like that. The masks, okay, masks plural, right. All the masks, not good, except for when they did use the Halloween 6 mask in it. Why, I don't know why they didn't keep that mask, because that was the best looking mask. Like, come on.
It was.
But all the masks could use some work. I love the opening. Okay, the opening to me in this movie is, I love Halloween 4, but the opening to Halloween H2O was just that knife shing and then stabbing and then this Mr. Sandman. And I'm just like, oh, chills every time. Such a Halloween vibe. I love the mom like yelling, getting mad at the kids too. I'm like, relatable. Like,
right.
so, you see her like yelling and the kids like, ah! Oh my God. I love all that. I love all the Psycho references in it, since Janet Leigh's in it and she's in Psycho, and they have so many Psycho references in it, including like the same car that Janet Leigh drives in Psycho. She drives in Halloween H2O. It's like parked there, has the same license plate. They have a little
The music.
Not the music. Thank you.
Yeah,
The music of
yeah.
like a little bit of psycho music. And some people are like, I don't like the strings and everything in the Halloween H2O music. I'm like, I don't care because that one part,
Right.
good. Keep it just to add that little bit of psycho theme in there. Okay, what else can I say? I have like there's something big I was going to say about Halloween H2O. There's so much I love about it that I get to. I don't know. You guys go. I'll remember.
No, I love it. I mean, and we obviously just did our H2O episode a few episodes ago, and I agree. It's a movie that for me falls a little bit lower into the ranking, not because I don't like it. I just like others more, right? And I watch H2O every year, and I have a smile on my face the whole time that I'm watching it. And they do a lot of things better in H2O than they did in the David Gordon Green trilogy, like with Laurie and things like that. But there are some really awesome scenes in it, like the truck, or not the truck stop, but I guess it's kind of a truck stop, the rest stop scene, right, with the little girl and the mom. Like, you think that he's gonna kill both of them, and then he's just like, "No, I just want your car keys, right? I'm getting out of here." There's that. I love Sarah's death scene when she gets her leg crushed in the bellhop, cart thing, whatever that is. And then she's hanging and she's like, the lights, glowing, and very cool. I wish they wouldn't have had so many off-screen deaths. Like, I think that's where I wish they would have more on screen, but that was just the time. That was the era of horror movies. And I think that was just kind of where they were at. But I'm going to let Austin talk because he's a huge fan of this film.
Yeah, I mean, H2O for the longest time was my favorite. It's the one that I grew up watching the most. My biggest problem with H2O is this podcast is almost longer than that movie. It's such a short film.
It's true.
It's really quick paced, but I agree. I think this is the best version of any older Laurie Strode that we could have gotten. It's so much more realistic to like what actual trauma victims are like. They don't turn into, I mean, I'm sure some do, but for the most part, they don't turn into these Rambo Lauries or whatever. And it's so true to the Halloween 78 character of Laurie Strode, being that studious, smart, promising young woman turning into the headmaster or the headmistress at this very important, prep school. I love the setting of it at a prep school. I'm a big fan of Donnie Darko, so I think it kind of reminds me of the setting there. I mean, I think Michael's great. The film is great. We got the only good rapper in a Halloween film with LL Cool J, who actually like wins the show for me every time I watch that film. I think her son's great. I can't say enough good stuff. Like I said, biggest problem I got is it's edited for TV length.
Yeah. That's very true. But you know what though? I find movies these days are just too darn long.
Yes. Yeah.
Why
These
are they
3-hour movies. Yeah.
I agree.
Even 2 hours, and like for a horror movie,
Right.
Yes, and Laurie, and even though she is like an alcoholic, like she is in the newer trilogy, like she's like functioning, she's she's handling it, she's still good, she's still working, she's still smart, she's not like shaking with a little tiny bottle in a car and like I'm like, oh God, David Gordon Green.
Right.
Anyway, but Laurie, no, I was gonna say at the end, this is where it ends to me. Halloween ends at H2O. All right. That's just the ending. And when she cuts off his head and then you hear her breathing, like kind of mimicking like the sound of Michael breathing, like in the first one at the end, I'm like, hell yes.
Right.
But when I was young, I hated the fact that you could see his eyes in this movie. I did not like him. Like, he looks so goofy. Come on now. But watching it probably 83 times, I was like, you know what? Michael's eyes to me in this movie are like their own character in a sense, because if you had that window scene where they first see each other, one of the best scenes ever.
Yeah.
And he sees her and he tilts his head. Oh, the Michael tilt. He tilts his head. If you couldn't see them make actual eye contact, I think it would have been so effective. And same when he's on like the hood of the car and she's looking at him, she's smiling like, I'm going to get you. And then when he's reaching out to her and they're looking at each other and it's like, what's going on here? They're having some
Right.
emotional thing. Is he manipulating her? Like, what's going on? Like,
Exactly.
seeing the eyeballs, I think, was a smart choice and needed, actually.
I think you're so right. I think that final scene really justifies the
Mhm.
whole eyeball thing, and it was very clearly a choice to have his eyes shown in this film compared to the previous ones.
Mhm.
You convinced me right there.
Well, and you also
Hey.
you talked about something that we also talked about on the our H2O episode of that final scene before she cuts off her head. It's like, yeah, is he trying to be manipulative, or is he really trying to reach out like, help me, I'm your brother, help me? And it was so well done, and you can see that look in her eye where she's just like, she's almost starting to cry a little bit, and she's reaches her hand out, but then it's like you can't actually see what she's thinking. But it's like she gets like a nanosecond flashback of everything that happened to her in Halloween 78 and Halloween 2, all her friends getting killed, getting stalked, everything like that. And it's just like, not today, mother effer. And she freaking swings that axe. You get the classic, John Carpenter theme that returns at the end. So great. So awesome.
Love it.
Now I want to watch
So
H2O.
much.
Now I want to
Yeah.
watch
I
H2O.
know.
Yeah.
And now I want to watch Halloween Ends.
Said no one. Said no
I
one.
will.
See, we didn't convince you, and that's okay.
I think you were a better salesperson on Halloween H2O than we were on Ends.
Yeah, we gotta work on our elevator pitch for Halloween Ends because it didn't do much for you, obviously, which I totally understand. I get it. No, that's awesome. I loved your list. I really do. I mean, and it really does match up very similarly to where we're at with a few outliers, right? I mean, it was very, very similar. And I think a lot of Halloween fans are a lot like us, where we appreciate like that first part, or those first 7 movies, right? Or 8 movies, I guess, 9 movies, whatever you want to call it, whether you want to end at H2O or you want to end at Resurrection. People just appreciate the OGs, if you will, of that series. And I appreciate you obviously sharing that with us, because it's awesome to hear other fans' rankings, and it's cool to see where people are at,
Where was Ends for you guys? Like, where is Ends for you?
I think Ends ended up for us in like the 5 spot.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was up there. I mean, and obviously I can't tell you why, but it was up there, and I would have to go back and watch that episode. But I think if I remember right, I went back and forth with which film I like more, Halloween Ends or Halloween 6. And I think if I remember right, I think I put 6 before Ends. Just because it's part of the OG, but it was up there. It was definitely up there.
It's so nice. We've had the luxury of having a lot of people who also love Ends come on the show. So it is really nice. And I'm sure for any of our viewers who are like, I like this show, but these guys are so annoying about Ends, I'm sure today
they're
was
like, finally.
Yeah.
Finally, somebody who agrees with us. Yeah. No, that's awesome.
Yeah. I'll rewatch it for you guys. I promise I will. I promise.
Well,
I'll make
you gotta
sure.
you got to give us like a book report or something of why you liked it or why you hated it more or whatever. But I'm excited to hear from you after you watch it a second time, and maybe you like it just that much more, and that's okay. That's all right. Totally get it. It's not for everybody. Marie, before we take off, where can everybody find you at? Not like your house, but I mean, where can people find you at online, I guess?
You can find me on the YouTube channel Not a Strong Start, where I have my own show, Marie Plays It All, where, like you say, I talk about movies and video games and geeky stuff. And then when I'm just on Not a Strong Start with the guys, we talk about movies and pop culture stuff. You can follow me on Instagram at Marie Plays It All, or also I have an Instagram page, Marie Reviews Everything, which I don't use all that much because I'm really busy with the podcast stuff right now. But every now and then I'll throw a review up there randomly. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Everybody go check out Marie. She is awesome. She's got some of her own Halloween content, so you can check that out as well. Marie, it was an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on the show and for sharing with us your ranking. It was a lot of fun. And again, make sure you let us know what you think of Halloween Ends after you've seen it a second time.
Thank you guys so much for having me on. Thank you guys so much for not kicking me out the moment I said I didn't like Anne's at the bottom. Thank you for accepting me for who I am.
Absolutely. No, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Guys, make sure you check out Marie. And that's going to do it for this episode of Halloween Lives, the podcast of Michael Myers. This is number 35. We're on to number 36. We'll hit you with that next week. I'm Blaine Duncan. That's my brother, Austin. And we'll see you guys next time.